The rain had stopped an hour ago, but water still dripped from the black awning of Greenwood Funeral Home, each drop hitting my shoulder like a countdown to something I couldn't quite name. I stood there, 62 years old, successful engineer, father of two, and apparently nobody worth inviting to my own mother's funeral. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step back. The security guard's hand moved to his belt, not quite touching the pepper spray, but letting me know it was there. Young kid, maybe 25, trying to look tough in a rented uniform that didn't quite fit. I'm Marcus Thompson, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest. Dorothy Thompson's son, her eldest son. He glanced at his clipboard, ran his finger down a list that couldn't have had more than 50 names. Sorry, sir, you're not on the list. Not on the list. At my own mother's funeral. Through the tall windows I could see them all inside, the invited ones. Kevin, my younger brother, stood at the podium, his expensive suit unable to hide the soft belly of too many business lunches, his hands moving in grand gestures as he spoke about our mother. Our mother, the one whose bedtime stories taught me the difference between right and wrong. The one who stayed up all night when I had pneumonia at 7. The one who apparently didn't merit having both her sons at her final goodbye. 48 hours ago, I'd been installing kitchen cabinets in my daughter Emily's new apartment when the call came. Not from Kevin. No, that would have been too decent. From Kevin's lawyer. Mr. Thompson? This is Gerald Hoffman from Hoffman and Associates. I'm calling to inform you that Dorothy Thompson passed away yesterday evening. The funeral arrangements have been handled. Your presence won't be necessary. Won't be necessary. Like I was some distant cousin twice removed. Not the son who'd driven her to every chemotherapy appointment, who'd held her hand through Dad's funeral, who'd spent 30 Thanksgivings carving turkey at her table. When I'd called Kevin directly, his voice had been cold as January steel. Mom left everything to me, Marcus. Everything. The house, the accounts, all of it. She made her choice. I'm just respecting her wishes. You don't need to come. In fact, it would be better if you didn't. Now, standing in the drizzle, I watched through the window as Kevin raised something, a paper. Even from here I could see his theatrical flourish as he waved it. Mother's will, his voice carried through the glass, muffled but clear enough, states clearly that I am to be the sole beneficiary of her estate. She knew who truly cared for her in her final years. Final years, the ones where Kevin visited maybe 3 times, always with his hand out for money. Something caught my eye. A man, Asian features, mid-40s, placing white roses at the memorial table. White roses. Mom was severely allergic to white roses. She'd break out in hives just being in the same room with them. Anyone who actually knew her would never. The man paused, touched the coffin gently, and whispered something I couldn't hear. There was genuine grief in his movements, the kind you can't fake, but I'd never seen him before in my life. Then movement to the left, an older woman, late 60s maybe, standing apart from the other mourners. Patricia something, Morrison? I'd seen her once, years ago, at Dad's company Christmas party. She was crying, not the polite tears of an acquaintance, but the raw, chest-shaking sobs of real loss. She clutched a photograph to her chest, and when she kissed it, I saw it was a picture of my father who'd been dead 15 years. The security guard shifted impatiently. Sir, I'm going to have to insist. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something, call it an engineer's instinct for patterns that don't fit, made me check. The text was brief. The will Kevin's waving around is fake. Your mother told me everything before she died. Pier 39, midnight tonight. Come alone. Trust no one, especially not Kevin. I looked back through the window. Kevin was shaking hands now, accepting condolences with the practiced ease of a man who'd gotten exactly what he wanted. Behind him, that Asian man was taking photos with his phone, not of the flowers or the gathering, but specifically of Kevin and the document in his hand. Patricia Morrison had moved closer to the coffin. She placed something inside, a letter it looked like, then quickly walked toward the exit. As she passed the window, our eyes met. The recognition in her face was immediate, followed by something else. Fear. She mouthed one word, run. Then she was gone, leaving me standing in the rain with a security guard who was now definitely reaching for his pepper spray, a funeral I couldn't attend, and a text message that suggested my mother's death was just the beginning of something much larger. I turned and walked away, each step feeling like a betrayal of the woman who'd raised me. But as I reached my car, one thought kept circling back, sharp as a blade between the ribs. My mother never wrote a will. She'd told me 100 times, when you boys have to figure out what to do with my things, you'll figure it out together. That's what family does. I knew my mother would never write a will like the one Kevin was waving around in there. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't possibly have imagined standing there in that parking lot, was that this was just the tip of the iceberg, and the rest of it would destroy everything I thought I knew about my family. Pier 39 at midnight isn't where you'd expect to learn your mother might have been murdered. The sea lions were quiet for once, and fog rolled in thick enough to muffle even the sound of my own footsteps on the wet boards. I'd parked 3 blocks away, walked in circles twice to make sure nobody followed me. 20 years of engineering had taught me to check my work. Tonight, paranoia felt like wisdom. The text had said midnight. It was 12 or 3. Then I saw him, a figure leaning against the railing near the carousel, the red ember of a cigarette glowing in the dark. As I got closer, the streetlight caught his face. 70, maybe older, with the kind of deep-set eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. "Marcus Thompson," he said. "Not a question. You look just like your old man. Same walk, same way of checking over your shoulder. Who are you?" He took a long drag, flicked the cigarette into the bay. "Detective Ray Hawkins, retired SFPD, 28 years. Now I do private work. Your mother hired me 5 years ago. 5 years, when Mom was still sharp, still driving herself to grocery stores, still refusing to let anyone help with anything. She hired you to do what, exactly?" Ray pulled out a manila envelope from inside his coat, thick as a phone book. "To investigate your brother Kevin. She came to me in September 2019, scared out of her mind. Said she'd found some documents in Kevin's home office when she was watering his plants. Contracts with elderly clients, all over 70, all recently widowed or divorced. All mysteriously broke within 6 months of hiring Kevin as their real estate advisor." The pier creaked under our feet. Somewhere in the distance, a foghorn moaned. "She wanted proof before going to the authorities," Ray continued. "Took me 3 years, but I found 12 victims. Total losses $8.3 million. Your brother's got a gift. He knows exactly how to make lonely old people trust him, then systematically strips them of everything, uses their signatures on legitimate documents to authorize transfers they never agreed to. By the time they realize what's happened, the money's gone through 6 different accounts in 3 different countries." My stomach turned. Kevin, who'd given the eulogy 2 hours ago about family values and honoring our parents' legacy. "If you had proof, why didn't she go to the police?" Ray's face darkened. "She was going to. Had an appointment with the DA's office on March 15th. March 14th, she has an unfortunate accident, falls down the stairs at home, the same stairs she'd walked for 40 years without incident, the same stairs that suddenly had a loose carpet rod that nobody noticed until after she fell." The words hit like ice water. "You're saying Kevin, I'm saying your mother was healthy as a horse 2 days before that fall. I'm saying Kevin was the only other person with a key to that house. I'm saying the carpet rod that supposedly came loose, it had fresh tool marks on it, like someone had pried it up and reset it." My hands were shaking now, and not from the cold. "If you knew this, why didn't you? With what evidence? The police called it an accident. Case closed. Your mother survived but never walked again. The head trauma affected her memory. Convenient for Kevin. Within 6 months, she's diagnosed with late-stage dementia that nobody saw coming. Another convenient coincidence." Ray reached into his pocket, pulled out a USB drive. "Small, black, unremarkable. The night before her fall, your mother came to my office, said she had a bad feeling, wanted to leave me something for safekeeping. This has 3 audio files on it. You need to hear them." I took the drive. It felt heavier than it should have. First file is from January 2019. Your mother talking about discovering Kevin's fraud. Second file is from March 2024, a week before she died. One of her clear moments. She had those sometimes, despite what Kevin told everyone. She talks about 3 wills. 3 wills, that's where it gets interesting. Will number 1, the one Kevin's waving around? Your mother says it's fake. Never signed it, never even saw it. Will number 2, she says she wrote in 2015 with her lawyer, Harold Morrison. Split everything equally between you and Kevin. Standard stuff. And the third, Ray lit another cigarette, took his time. That's the recording that'll knock you sideways. There's a third beneficiary. Someone she calls her secret son. Someone she and your father took in back in 1979 but never told anyone about. She doesn't say the name on the recording, just keeps calling him Jimmy. Jimmy, the Asian man at the funeral with the white roses. I need a lawyer, I said, the words coming out before I'd fully formed the thought. Already ahead of you. Ray handed me a business card. Eleanor Chen, best estate attorney in the Bay Area. Specializes in contested wills and elder fraud. Her office opens at 8. Be there at 8:01. The next morning, I stood outside the gleaming towers of Chen & Associates, the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The receptionist, a young woman with perfect posture and skeptical eyes, looked me up and down. I need to see Eleanor Chen. It's about my mother's estate. Miss Chen is booked solid for the next 3 weeks. Tell her it's about Dorothy Thompson and Kevin Thompson's $8 million fraud operation. The receptionist's fingers froze over her keyboard. One moment. 30 seconds later, I was being ushered into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. Eleanor Chen wasn't what I expected. Mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes, and an intensity that reminded me of Mom when she was plotting something. Mr. Thompson, Ray Hawkins called me last night. Said you'd have something interesting for me. I set the USB on her desk. My mother's dead. My brother's a fraud, and apparently I have another brother nobody told me about. Eleanor plugged in the USB, started playing the first file. Mom's voice filled the room, clear and strong and absolutely furious. Kevin's been stealing from old people, Ray. My own son is a predator. I found the proof in his files. We listened to all 3 recordings. By the end, Eleanor's expression had shifted from professional interest to something approaching excitement. This is big, she said. Bigger than you realize. If we can prove Kevin forged that will, if we can prove elder abuse, he's looking at 20 to life. I just want the truth. The truth. Eleanor smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The truth is about to walk through that door. Before I could ask what she meant, the door opened. The Asian man from the funeral walked in, the one with the white roses. Up close, I could see he was about 45, wearing an expensive suit that actually fit, unlike Kevin's. Marcus, Eleanor said, meet James Chen. Jimmy extended his hand. His grip was firm, confident. I've wanted to meet you for 30 years. Who are you? I'm your brother, legally adopted by your parents in 1979 when I was 5 years old. They never told you because, he paused, choosing his words carefully, because they were protecting me from something, or someone. Eleanor pulled out a folder, inch thick with documents. Adoption papers, all legal, all authenticated. Your parents adopted Jimmy from South Vietnam through a church program, but they kept it secret. The question is why. Jimmy sat down across from me. Your mother visited me last year during one of her clear periods. She told me about Kevin, about what he'd become. She said when the time came I should find you, that you'd know what to do. And Eleanor is your sister. Eleanor said, adopted from the same orphanage, 3 years later by a different family. We found each other in law school. Cosmic coincidence, or maybe just the universe's way of preparing for this moment. I looked between them, these strangers who were apparently family, this conspiracy my mother had built from her wheelchair. So what now? Eleanor's smile turned predatory. Now we go to war. Kevin thinks he's won. He's got the fake will, the house, the accounts. But we have the recordings. We have Jimmy's adoption papers. We have Ray's investigation. And most importantly, she pulled out another document. We have the real will. Harold Morrison, your mother's real lawyer, had a copy in his safe. Kevin didn't know Morrison died 2 years ago. His widow, Patricia, you saw her at the funeral. She kept the original. Patricia Morrison, the woman who'd mouthed run at me through the window. Kevin's not just a thief, Jimmy said quietly. He's a killer, and he's about to learn what happens when you murder the wrong person's mother. I looked at the papers spread across Eleanor's desk. 3 wills, 3 children, 3 different versions of the truth. But Mom was right about one thing. There was only one real truth here. 3 children, 3 wills, but only one truth. And I was going to find it. 3 days after meeting Jimmy, I knew we'd rattled Kevin's cage. The first sign was subtle, my mailbox hanging open when I came home, though nothing seemed missing. The second sign was less subtle. I woke at 3 in the morning to find my front door wide open, cold Bay Area fog drifting through my living room like cigarette smoke. Nothing was stolen. That was the terrifying part. My laptop sat untouched on the coffee table. My father's watch still gleamed in its case on the mantel. But the USB drive Ray had given me? Gone. Along with every document I'd photocopied, every note I'd written, even the business cards Eleanor and Jimmy had given me. Professional, surgical, and meant to send a message. I was pouring coffee the next morning, trying to convince myself I'd been careless with the evidence, when I noticed it, a tiny red light blinking from inside my smoke detector. Then another in the air vent, a third nestled in the corner of a picture frame. Cameras. My own home had become a surveillance studio, and I was the star of a show I never auditioned for. The phone rang. Kevin's voice came through smooth as aged bourbon with twice the poison. Morning, Marcus. Sleep well? What did you do? Me? I'm just calling to check on my grieving brother. Losing Mom has been hard on all of us. There was a pause, the sound of papers shuffling. Though I hear you've been keeping busy, meeting new friends, asking questions. You always were too curious for your own good. If you think you can intimidate, I don't think anything, Marcus. I know. For instance, I know you're planning to drive to Eleanor Chen's office in about 20 minutes. That old Lexus of yours, the one you've had for what, 8 years? You really should have those brakes checked. I hear they've been making strange noises lately. The line went dead. I stood there for 30 seconds, processing. Then I grabbed my keys and ran to the garage. The Lexus sat there, looking normal, harmless. I'd rebuilt engines in college, knew my way around a car. It took me 5 minutes to find it. The brake line, sliced nearly through, hanging by maybe 2 millimeters of rubber. One hard stop and it would snap completely. My hands shook as I called Eleanor. "Don't come to the office," she said before I could speak. Her voice was strained, frightened. "Someone broke in last night. They didn't take anything, but they left something. Dead roses on my desk. White ones, and a note that said some gardens need weeding. Where's Jimmy? Hospital. Someone jumped him in the parking garage last night. 3 men, professionals. They didn't rob him, just beat him methodically and left him with a message. Next time we don't stop. Marcus, whoever Kevin hired, they're not playing games." I heard sirens in the background. "Eleanor, I've got to go. There's someone here who needs to talk to you. Can you make it to Stanford Medical? Room 4B, it's about Ray." Stanford Medical was 30 miles of paranoid driving, checking every mirror, taking 3 different routes to make sure I wasn't followed. By the time I arrived, my shirt was soaked through with sweat. Ray Hawkins looked like death warmed over and served cold. Tubes ran from his arms. Monitors beeped irregularly, and his skin had the gray pallor of old newspaper. But his eyes were alert, angry. "Stroke, my ass," he wheezed when he saw me. "Been poisoned before, know what it feels like." This was professional grade. Slow acting, mimics natural causes. "Your brother's got himself a specialist." "Who? Who's doing this?" "They call him the cleaner. Ex-CIA or maybe current, nobody knows. Specializes in making problems disappear without leaving traces. If Kevin's got him on payroll, we're not just fighting a fraud case anymore. We're fighting for our lives." The door opened. I expected a nurse, but instead Patricia Morrison walked in, the woman from the funeral. Behind her was someone else, a woman in her early 40s with my father's eyes and my father's stubborn chin. "Marcus," Patricia said, her voice barely above a whisper, "this is Sarah, your sister." The word hung in the air like a challenge. "Sister." Sarah stepped forward, and I could see it immediately, the Thompson bone structure, the way she tilted her head when studying something, exactly like Dad used to do. "I know this is a shock. It was a shock to me too when I found out 3 years ago." "Found out?" Patricia spoke up, her hands twisting a handkerchief. "Your father and we had an affair in 1984. Brief, stupid, but it happened. When I got pregnant, Harold, my husband, was overseas for business. The math didn't work. Your father did the honorable thing, supported Sarah financially but secretly, set up a trust, made payments through shell companies. Your mother never knew. But Kevin found out," Sarah added. 6 months ago he contacted me, said if I ever came forward, ever tried to claim my share of the inheritance, he'd destroy Mom. Patricia would expose the affair, ruin her reputation. But after what he did at that funeral, keeping Marcus out, she pulled out a manila envelope. Paternity test. DNA match to your father at 99.9%. I'm done hiding. My phone buzzed. Eleanor's number, but when I answered, it wasn't her voice. "Mr. Thompson." The voice was cultured, professional, absolutely terrifying in its calmness. "This is the cleaner. You're going to stop what you're doing. You're going to forget about the will, forget about your brother's business dealings, forget you ever met Jimmy Chen or your newfound sister. If you don't, the next accident won't be so carefully calibrated. Your daughter Emily lives alone in that new apartment, doesn't she? Terrible neighborhood. Anything could happen. If you touch her—" "I don't touch anyone, Mr. Thompson. Things just happen. Car accidents, gas leaks, overdoses, random violence. The world is such a dangerous place. Your mother learned that when she fell down those stairs. The admission hit like a punch. He'd just confirmed Mom's fall wasn't an accident. Oh, and Mr. Thompson, your brother is filing charges against you tomorrow. Defamation, harassment, attempted extortion. He has witnesses who will swear you threatened him at the funeral, that you've been stalking him, that you're mentally unstable from grief. Amazing what people will say for the right price." The line went dead. I looked around the hospital room. Ray poisoned in his bed, Patricia trembling with fear, Sarah clutching her DNA results like a shield, and me standing in the middle of it all, finally understanding the truth. This wasn't just about money anymore. This wasn't even about Mom's will or family secrets. Kevin had killed once to protect his empire of lies, and now, backed into a corner with his fraud exposed and his fake will threatened, he was ready to kill again. All of us if necessary. The cleaner was right about one thing. The world was a dangerous place. But he'd made one mistake. He'd threatened Emily, my daughter, and that changed everything. This wasn't just a fight about inheritance anymore. Kevin was willing to kill to keep his secrets buried. Sometimes the biggest revelations come from the smallest details. Mom had always kept a ceramic frog on her nightstand. Ugly thing, painted green with googly eyes that Dad bought her at a county fair in 1973. She hated it, but kept it because Dad loved it. When I snuck back into the house at 2 in the morning using the spare key hidden under the fake rock that Kevin didn't know about, that frog was gone. Everything else in her bedroom remained untouched. Kevin's attempt to preserve the scene, probably. But that missing frog nagged at me. Mom would never throw it away, which meant she'd hidden it. And if she'd hidden it, there was a reason. It took me 40 minutes of searching, feeling along baseboards, checking behind picture frames, until I found it. The closet floor had always creaked in one corner, but now it sounded hollow. The frog sat there, wrapped in plastic, weighing considerably more than ceramic should. Its base had been hollowed out, and inside was a key. Not a house key, a safety deposit box key from Wells Fargo, with a number etched into it. 3 hours later, I sat in a private viewing room at the bank, staring at the contents of box 4782. Cash, about $30,000 in hundreds. Mom's original jewelry, the pieces she'd told Kevin were stolen in a break-in, and a small digital camera, the kind nobody uses anymore, with a single video file dated October 15, 2020. I pressed play. Mom's face filled the screen. This was after her fall, but during one of her clear periods, her eyes sharp and focused, nothing like the confused woman Kevin had been parading around to doctors. "Marcus," she said, and hearing her say my name made my throat tight. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone and Kevin has done exactly what I feared he would. I need you to know the truth, all of it." She took a breath, steadied herself. "Kevin is not your father's son. He's not even mine, not by blood. In 1966, my sister Louise had an affair with our cousin Walter. The scandal would have destroyed our family. Cousins, Marcus, first cousins. When Louise died in childbirth, I took the baby, raised him as my own. Your father agreed because he was a good man who believed every child deserved a chance." The room spun. Kevin, my brother for 58 years, wasn't my brother at all. Mom continued, her voice growing stronger. "We never told anyone, filed the birth certificate as ours, moved to California where nobody knew our history. But Marcus, here's what matters legally. Kevin was never formally adopted. We just raised him. No papers, no court proceedings. In the eyes of the law, he's not our son. He has no claim to Thompson inheritance." She held up a document to the camera. "This is Jimmy Chen's adoption papers from 1979. Legal, certified, authenticated. Jimmy is our legal son. And then there's Sarah. I found out about her 2 years ago. Your father's only biological child still living besides you. Kevin knows none of this. He's built his whole life on a lie I let him believe because I loved him despite what he's become." She leaned closer to the camera. "There's more. Kevin's been stealing from elderly clients. I have proof hidden in my sewing room, inside the Singer machine. He's dangerous, Marcus. If something happens to me, if I have an accident, know that it wasn't, and know that everything I'm telling you can be verified. Walter's birth certificate is in the county records in Bakersfield. The DNA test I had done on Kevin is in this box. Everything you need to destroy him, but Marcus—" She paused, and I could see the mother I remembered, the one who made us apologize even when we didn't want to. "Don't destroy him. Stop him. Yes, save his victims, absolutely. But remember, he's still the boy I raised, still the child who had nightmares and came to our bed, still your brother in every way that should matter. Stop him, but if you can, save him too." The video ended. I sat in that sterile bank room for 10 minutes, rebuilding my entire life's narrative. Then I called Eleanor. "Emergency meeting," I said. "My house, 1 hour. Bring Jimmy, and call Sarah." They arrived separately, cautiously. We sat around my dining room table, the one Mom had given me when I got married, and I played the video, watched their faces change as the truth unfolded. Jimmy leaned forward when Mom held up his adoption papers. Sarah gasped when Mom confirmed her as Dad's biological child. Eleanor took notes, her legal mind already working through the implications. When it finished, silence filled the room like water. Eleanor spoke first. "This changes everything. Kevin has no legal standing. None. The will he's waving around isn't just forged, it's irrelevant. He can't inherit what was never his to claim. We need to be smart about this," Jimmy said, his voice measured. "Kevin's got the cleaner. He's got resources. He's got desperation. Cornered animals are the most dangerous. Sarah looked at me. What would Mom, Dorothy, want us to do? I knew the answer immediately. She'd want us to stop running and start fighting. But she'd want us to be clever about it. The reading of the will, Eleanor said suddenly. Kevin scheduled a formal reading for next week. Invited all the family lawyers, some business associates, planning to make it a big show of his legitimacy. Perfect, I said, feeling something shift inside me from prey to predator. He wants a show. We'll give him one he'll never forget. We spent the next 3 hours planning. Eleanor would file the real adoption papers with the court but ask for a delay in processing. Jimmy would reach out to Kevin's fraud victims, quietly gathering them. Sarah would get her DNA test certified by 3 independent labs. And me, I'd play the broken brother, defeated and ready to give up. Let him think he's won, I said. Let him get comfortable, overconfident. Then, when he's on that stage, in front of everyone he wants to impress, we hit him with everything. Eleanor smiled, sharp as a blade. The will reading is at the Fairmont Hotel. Very public, very prestigious. When we're done, Kevin won't just lose the inheritance, he'll lose everything. As they prepared to leave, Jimmy pulled me aside. You know this will destroy him, publicly, completely. I thought about Mom's words, stop him but save him if you can. Kevin destroyed himself the day he pushed Mom down those stairs. We're just holding up the mirror. Sarah was the last to leave. At the door, she turned back. We're really family, aren't we? In all this mess, we found each other. Yeah, I said, surprised to realize I meant it. We are. After they left, I stood in my empty house, cameras still blinking their red eyes at me from every corner. Let Kevin watch, let him see me moving the furniture around, apparently aimless. He wouldn't understand I was actually removing every camera, one by one, dropping them into a lead-lined box I'd bought that afternoon. The hunter was about to become the hunted. Kevin had lived his entire life in a lie, wrapped in a fiction of family and inheritance that was never real. Now it was time for the truth to finally see daylight. The call came at 3:47 a.m. Not my phone, Emily's phone, the one I'd given her for emergencies only, the number only 3 people knew. It rang from my nightstand where she'd left it last week when she came for dinner. My blood turned to ice before I even answered. Dad! Emily's voice, but wrong, strained like she was speaking through clenched teeth. I could hear her trying to keep the fear out of her words, trying to be strong. Emily, where are you? Are you hurt? He wants me to tell you something. A pause, a muffled sound like someone adjusting a script. Then she continued, reading words that weren't hers. Stop what you're doing. Drop all investigations. Leave California within 48 hours. If you don't, the phone was yanked away. Kevin's voice replaced hers, calm as a funeral director discussing coffin options. Hello, Marcus. Your daughter's quite brave. Reminds me of you at that age. So determined, so sure that being good means something. Remember our climbing trip in '95? Mount Shasta? You were 25, I was 21. You insisted on leading the climb, always the protective big brother. My hands gripped the phone so tight the plastic creaked. That trip, we'd nearly died when my rope snapped. You were so trusting, Kevin continued, following your little brother's advice on which route to take, which equipment to use. If that rope had snapped just a few seconds earlier, when you were over the 1,000-foot drop instead of the ledge, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation. My mind reeled, pieces clicking into place. You knew. You cut that rope. Frayed it, actually. Much more natural looking. Took me 3 hours the night before, working it with a nail file until it was hanging by threads. But you always did have the devil's luck. Just like Mom, surviving that fall down the stairs when she should have broken her neck. The cleaner was quite annoyed about that. He prided himself on precision, and Mom living for 4 more years wasn't part of the plan. Kevin, if you hurt Emily, hurt her. Marcus, I'm not a monster. I'm a businessman protecting my interests. Your daughter is simply leverage. Here's the deal. You and your new little family. Oh yes, I know all about Jimmy and Sarah. Quite the reunion you've been planning. You all disappear. Drop everything. Walk away and Emily comes home safe. Keep pushing. And well, the cleaner's very good at making things look accidental. You son of a... Careful, Marcus. I'm not actually your brother, remember? Never was. Oh, you didn't think I knew? His laugh was poison dripping through the phone line. I've known since I was 14, summer of '78. Heard Mom and Dad arguing about it one night when they thought I was at baseball practice. Came home early with a sprained ankle, sat outside their bedroom window. He's not even ours, Dad said. We should tell him the truth about Walter and Louise. But Mom, sweet Mother Dorothy, she insisted on keeping the lie. He's our son in every way that matters, she said. He paused, and I could hear him pouring something. Probably that expensive scotch he always bragged about. Do you know what it's like, Marcus? Finding out your entire life is a lie? That you're not who you think you are? That you're actually the product of incest? That your real parents were first cousins who were too ashamed to raise you? I spent that whole night throwing up. Then I spent the next 30 years planning for the day when I'd take everything that should have been mine by birthright, not charity. The phone clicked to speaker. I could hear Emily breathing, trying to stay calm, and another sound, footsteps on concrete. The cleaner's with her now, Kevin continued. Same man who helped Mom down those stairs, who's been watching you all for weeks. Very professional, very thorough. He's quite fond of your daughter, actually. Says she reminds him of someone he used to know. Would be a shame if he had to stop being fond of her. What do you want, Kevin? Specifically, I already told you. Everyone walks away. That video confession you found? I've already had 3 experts lined up to testify it's a deepfake. Amazing what technology can do these days. They'll demonstrate in court how easy it is to fake Mom's voice, her face. The police are actually on their way to arrest you right now. Something about forging evidence in an inheritance dispute. I have witnesses who saw you at the bank. Suspicious behavior, accessing Mom's safety deposit box with a key you shouldn't have had. My doorbell rang. Through the window I could see police cars, lights flashing, uniforms gathering. That's your escort now, Kevin said. Your friend Jimmy. Immigration received an interesting tip about fraudulent adoption papers from 1979. Seems someone reported discrepancies in the documentation. He'll be in detention by noon, deported within a week. They move fast when they think national security might be involved. The doorbell rang again, followed by pounding. Police! Open up! We have a warrant! Oh, and Sarah! Kevin's voice turned gleeful. Terrible accident outside her hotel an hour ago. Some crazy person threw acid. She'll live. I'm not a complete monster, but she won't be testifying about anything for a while. Amazing how many unstable people there are in San Francisco these days. As for Eleanor Chen, the Bar Association just received some fascinating evidence of her embezzling client funds. Bank statements, forged signatures, the works. Her license will be suspended by morning. You can't do this to all of them. I already have. While you were playing detective, I was playing chess. Every move you made, I was 3 moves ahead. That meeting at the Fairmont you were planning? I've known about it since you discussed it at your house. Oh, you found the cameras, but did you find the microphones? They're much smaller these days. The pounding on my door intensified. Last warning, open the door. You have 24 hours, Marcus. After they release you, and they will, can't hold you long on what they've got. You leave California. Pack nothing, tell no one, just drive. Don't come back, don't contact me. Don't even think about Emily until you're across state lines. Maybe in Nevada, maybe in Arizona. I'll let her call you, if you're good, if you comply. Kevin, she's your niece. She's nothing to me. Just like you're nothing to me. Just like Mom was nothing to me after I found out the truth. Just names on documents, obstacles to remove. The Thompson fortune should have gone to real family, not charity cases and bastards. But I'll take it anyway. I've earned it. Please. 30 years, Marcus. I've been planning this for 30 years. Building contacts, creating networks, gathering leverage. You've had what, a week? You never stood a chance. The cleaner alone cost me $2 million to retain, but he's worth every penny. Did you know he once made an entire family disappear? Made it look like they never existed. Papers vanished, records deleted. Even the neighbors forgot they were ever there. My front door splintered open, wood fragments flying across my entryway. 24 hours, Marcus. Starting now. The line went dead as police flooded in. Weapons drawn, voices shouting commands. As they forced me to the ground, cuffing my hands behind my back, one thought burned through my mind. Kevin had prepared 30 years for this day, but I only had 24 hours to save my daughter. 22 hours into Kevin's deadline. I sat in my empty house, every ally neutralized. My daughter still missing. The police had released me after 6 hours of questioning. Not enough evidence to hold me, just like Kevin predicted. I was scrolling through flight options to Nevada on my laptop, playing the defeated brother, when my doorbell rang. I opened it expecting police again, maybe Kevin's people checking I was packing. Instead, a ghost stood on my porch. Ray Hawkins, the man who'd supposedly had a stroke, who should have been lying half dead in Stanford Medical, stood there in a federal windbreaker, very much alive and holding a badge I'd never seen before. FBI, Marcus. Special Agent Raymond Hawkins, Financial Crimes Division. We need to talk, and we need to move fast. My legs nearly gave out. You're what? You're supposed to be dying. Inside. Now, Kevin's still having you watched, but not for much longer. He pushed past me, pulling curtains closed as he moved through my house. 2 more agents followed him in, carrying equipment cases that looked military grade. 3 years, Ray said, setting up what looked like a combat laptop on my dining table. I've been undercover for 3 years, investigating your brother's fraud ring. Your mother didn't hire me. She was recruited by me. Dorothy Thompson was the bravest 75-year-old informant the Bureau's ever had. Mom was working with the FBI? Since January 2019. She came to us initially trying to report Kevin's crimes against elderly clients. We saw an opportunity for something much bigger. Kevin wasn't just stealing from old people. He was part of an international network moving money for cartels, terrorist organizations, people who make Kevin look like a choir boy. Your mother gave us access we never could have gotten otherwise. She wore wires, copied documents, even installed malware on Kevin's computers when she visited. One of the other agents, a young woman with sharp eyes and steady hands, pulled up video files on the laptop. Every meeting between your mother and Kevin for the last 3 years? Recorded? Every phone call? Captured? That stroke Agent Hawkins had? Part of the operation. We needed Kevin to think he'd won, to get overconfident, to make the mistakes that would nail him. But Emily, my daughter, she's been kidnapped. Ray smiled, actually smiled like he was enjoying this. Your daughter's fine, Marcus. More than fine. She's been kicking ass for the last 6 hours. Put 3 of Kevin's guys in the hospital. What? You didn't know Emily served in the Marines? 2 tours in Afghanistan, special operations training, close quarters combat specialist. She's been playing scared this whole time, gathering intel, recording conversations. She activated her emergency beacon 4 hours ago. We've got a team with her now. The laptop crackled to life with a live video feed. Emily's face appeared, dirty but uninjured, very much not looking like a terrified hostage. She had a tactical vest on and was holding what looked like Kevin's phone. Hey, Dad. Sorry for the scare. Had to play along until I could get what we needed. Uncle Kevin's been very chatty. Got him admitting to everything on video. Emily, thank God. Wait, what do you mean, what you needed? Another face appeared on the screen. The cleaner, but something was different about his expression. Gone was the cold professional killer demeanor. He looked satisfied, relieved, like a man who'd just finished a very long, very difficult mission. Mr. Thompson, he said, my name is Michael Park, former Navy SEAL, former CIA operative, current FBI asset. My father was William Park. 3 years ago, your brother convinced him to invest his entire retirement, $600,000, in a fake development deal. When Dad lost everything, when he realized he'd been scammed by someone he trusted, he put a gun in his mouth in his garage. I was in Syria doing private security when it happened. Came home to bury him and swore I'd make Kevin pay. Ray took over the narrative. Michael approached us 18 months ago. His CIA connections vouched for him. We made a deal. He goes undercover as the cleaner, gets close to Kevin, gathers evidence from the inside. In exchange, full immunity for anything he had to do to maintain cover, including pushing my mother down the stairs. Michael's face darkened. I was supposed to do it. Kevin ordered it, wanted her dead or incapacitated. But I warned Dorothy instead. The night before. She knew it was coming. We staged it together. She threw herself down the last 3 steps, made it look worse than it was, broke her hip for real, got a concussion, but avoided the neck-breaking fall Kevin wanted. The head trauma was real, but not as severe as we let Kevin think. Those confused periods, half of them were acting, letting her stay close to Kevin without him suspecting. My mind reeled, rebuilding the last 3 years of history. Everything I thought I knew was wrong. So when Kevin called me, when he said he had Emily, we were listening to every word, Ray said. Recording everything in high definition. Kevin just confessed to attempted murder in 1995. Conspiracy to commit murder. Elder abuse, fraud, money laundering, the whole package. Between that and what Michael's gathered, Kevin's looking at life without parole. Maybe even the death penalty if the terrorism financing charges stick. The younger agent pulled up her phone, checking something. Sir, the press conference is set. Justice Department's on board. Attorney General will be speaking personally. We go live in 30 minutes. Press conference. Ray stood, straightening his windbreaker. Kevin's planning to run, already has a ticket to Costa Rica under a fake name, David Walsh, leaving in 3 hours. Private jet from SFO. He thinks he's won. Thinks he's hours from freedom. We're going to let him get all the way to the airport. Let him think he's free. Let him board the plane, then take him down in front of everyone. Maximum exposure for his crimes. Your mother wanted his victims to see justice done publicly. She insisted on it. What about Jimmy, Sarah, Eleanor? You said they were all neutralized, all safe, all part of the operation. Jimmy was never actually detained. We had our people intercept him, take him to a safe house. He's been helping us decode Kevin's financial records. Sarah's acid attack was Hollywood special effects, courtesy of a friend at Industrial Light and Magic. She's been in protective custody, giving depositions. Eleanor's suspension was our doing too. We needed Kevin to think he'd destroyed your support system, made you completely alone. Emily's voice came through the laptop again. Dad, Kevin's leaving his house now. Michael's driving him to the airport in the Bentley. He's drinking champagne in the back seat, calling people, gloating. We've got it all recorded. It's showtime. Ray handed me a bulletproof vest. You want to be there for the ending? Your mother specifically requested you be there to see it. Mom requested, in one of her clear moments, 2 weeks before she died. She knew she wouldn't make it to see Kevin arrested, but she wanted you there to witness it for her. 20 minutes later, I stood in San Francisco International Airport, surrounded by what looked like normal travelers but were actually 40 federal agents in plainclothes. Kevin walked through the private jet terminal, Michael at his side carrying his bags like a loyal employee. Kevin looked triumphant, checking his Swiss bank account on his phone, probably watching millions in stolen money sitting safely offshore. He made it all the way to the jet, actually climbed the stairs, champagne glass in hand. That's when every screen in the airport, departure boards, TV monitors, even people's phones through an emergency broadcast, lit up with the FBI logo. Ray's voice echoed through the terminal PA system. Kevin Thompson, you're under arrest for murder. Attempted murder, fraud, racketeering, money laundering, and financing terrorism. Kevin froze at the plane door, looking for an escape route, but agents materialized from everywhere. The pilots, the flight attendants, even the baggage handlers pulled out badges. Michael stepped back, removing the cleaner's signature black gloves to reveal FBI credentials underneath. You? Kevin's face went white as printer paper. You work for them? My father sends his regards from the grave, Michael said quietly. Kevin reached for something in his jacket, a Glock nobody knew he had. But Emily was faster, appearing from inside the plane where she'd been waiting, her Marine training flowing like water. One fluid motion, she disarmed him, had him on the ground, knee in his back, his own gun pressed against his temple. Hi, Uncle Kevin, she said sweetly. Remember when you said I reminded you of Dad at that age? You were right. We both know how to survive when someone tries to kill us. 30 years Kevin had prepared for this day. 3 years the FBI had been building their case. But in the end it had only taken 1 second for justice to be served. 6 months after Kevin's arrest at San Francisco International, I stood in the kitchen of the Thompson house, our house now, making coffee for 12 people. The machine Mom had bought in 2010 still worked perfectly, though it complained a bit when pushed to its limits. Through the window I could see the December frost on the same garden where Dad had taught me to plant tomatoes 45 years ago. Everything had changed. Everything remained the same. The trial had been swift, brutal, and public. Every major news outlet covered it. The Thompson family murder, a son's ultimate betrayal, ran in the Chronicle, while CNN called it the inheritance that killed. Kevin got life without parole on the murder charge alone. Dorothy Thompson's death was officially ruled a homicide after the FBI presented their evidence. The moment when they played Kevin's confession in court, his voice casually admitting to pushing Mom down the stairs, several jurors wept openly. The fraud charges added another 120 years. 12 counts of elder abuse, 37 counts of wire fraud, 18 counts of money laundering. The terrorism financing charges were still pending. Apparently, some of Kevin's clients had been funneling money to organizations on watch lists, but they didn't matter anymore. Kevin would die in federal prison, probably alone, certainly forgotten. His assets, nearly $50 million squirreled away in various accounts from the Caymans to Switzerland, had been seized and distributed to his victims. 83 families got their life savings back. Mrs. Chen from Chinatown got her husband's retirement fund restored. The Washingtons got their house back. Some got their dignity back too, knowing they hadn't been fools, just targets of a sophisticated predator who'd spent decades perfecting his craft. Uncle Marcus, can you help me with this? Jimmy's daughter, Lily, 7 years old and smart as a whip, was trying to reach the good cookies Mom always kept on the top shelf. She had Jimmy's eyes, but something in her smile reminded me of Mom, that mischievous glint that meant she was up to something. Jimmy had brought his whole family from New York. His wife Anna, a pediatric surgeon at Mount Sinai, Lily, and their twin boys, David and Daniel, both 5 and absolutely unstoppable when they worked together. Those are for after dinner, I said, lifting her up so she could see the shelf anyway. But maybe we can negotiate one now if you help me set the table. Deal! She grabbed exactly one cookie, then ran off to find the good plates, the ones Mom only used for Christmas and Easter, the ones with the tiny painted roses around the edges that Dad had bought her for their 30th anniversary. Sarah walked in from the living room, her face completely healed from the fake acid attack. The Hollywood makeup had been so convincing that even I'd believed it when I saw the photos. The prosthetic burns had looked devastating. Now she wore her real face, our father's face, with pride. She'd had it hard, growing up knowing she was different, but not knowing why. Patricia always nervous when people commented how Sarah didn't look like her supposed father Harold. "Patricia's here," she said. "Brought that green bean casserole you like, the one with the crispy onions on top." Ray's parking the car, he insisted on driving her. "I think they've got something going on. He actually bought a new suit for today." Ray and Patricia? I couldn't help but smile. Mom would have loved that plot twist. She would have orchestrated it, Sarah laughed. "You know she probably planned all of this somehow. I found a note in her things suggesting Patricia and Ray would make good company for each other. Classic Dorothy." Eleanor appeared in the doorway, no longer just my lawyer but now family friend and co-conspirator in the Thompson Foundation. She'd been officially cleared of all charges 2 months ago, the Bar Association issuing a formal apology for the suspension based on fabricated evidence. Her practice was now bigger than ever. Turns out being falsely accused by a murderer gives you excellent publicity. Board meeting in 5 minutes. "Gentlemen and lady, we've got 3 new cases to review, and the Johnson situation needs immediate attention." The Thompson Foundation had been Eleanor's idea initially, but it felt like Mom's spirit made manifest. We'd turned the family fortune, everything Mom and Dad had built, plus the assets recovered from Kevin's crimes, into something that actually helped people. Victims of elder fraud, families torn apart by financial crimes, elderly people who'd been scammed out of their life savings. Jimmy handled the legal advocacy with his Harvard law degree finally serving its purpose. Sarah managed operations with her Stanford MBA and 20 years of business experience. Emily coordinated security and investigations with her military precision. And I oversaw it all, trying to be the kind of leader Mom would have been proud of, using my engineering mindset to build systems that worked. "Can the board meeting wait until after Michael gets here?" Emily asked, coming in from the garage where she'd been working on her motorcycle, a 1973 Harley that had been Dad's secret purchase Mom pretended not to know about. He texted, "He's 5 minutes out. Traffic on 101. Michael Park, once the cleaner, now headed our investigation unit. It had taken time to trust him, knowing he'd been prepared to kill for Kevin, but his dedication to taking down predators was genuine. His father's suicide had broken something in him that helping others slowly healed. He'd found 12 more of Kevin's victims we didn't know about, tracked down their money, made them whole again. It was his form of penance. "Family meeting first," I said. "Board meeting after dinner. Mom's rules. Business never comes before family dinner." We gathered in the living room, the same room where Kevin had once held court, where he'd displayed Mom's fake will like a trophy. The room had been transformed. Now it held different treasures. Photos of the real family, the complete family. Jimmy had brought pictures from his childhood we'd never seen. Him as a scared 5-year-old refugee from Saigon, becoming a confident American kid in Little League uniform. Sarah had contributed photos of Dad from Patricia's collection, including some from their brief affair that showed a side of him we'd never known. Younger, more reckless, playing guitar at a beach bonfire. More human than the steady father figure we'd known. "Before everyone else arrives," I started, pulling out an envelope from the mahogany desk that had been Dad's. "I need to share something. It came yesterday. From Coleman Federal Penitentiary. The letter was on prison stationery. Kevin's handwriting still perfect despite everything, though I noticed a slight tremor in some letters that hadn't been there before. 'Dear Marcus,'" I read aloud, my voice steady though my hands shook slightly. "I know you won't believe this, but I need to say it anyway. I was wrong. Not just about the crimes, I was wrong about everything. Every single thing that mattered. I spent so long hating the lie of being a Thompson that I never saw the truth of it. Mom and Dad chose to love me. They didn't have to. They chose it every day for 58 years, even when I was difficult, even when I was cruel, even when I didn't deserve it. I threw that away for money that's now gone, and pride that means nothing in a 6x8 cell where I spend 23 hours a day. I remember Christmas 1975. You gave me your baseball glove, the one signed by Willie Mays, because mine was stolen at school. You said brothers share everything. I kept that glove. It's in a storage unit in Oakland, along with every birthday card Mom ever gave me. I remember Mom staying up all night when I had pneumonia in 1981, singing those old songs her mother taught her, the Welsh lullabies. I remember Dad teaching me to drive in that old Ford, patient even when I stripped the gears 3 times in one afternoon. He just laughed and said we'd try again tomorrow. Those memories are more real than any blood connection could ever be. Prison gives you time to think. Too much time. I think about that moment on the stairs when Mom looked at me and knew what I was about to do. She said, "I forgive you, Kevin." Even as she was falling, she was forgiving me. I hear those words every night. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it, and wouldn't know what to do with it if you gave it. I killed the woman who raised me, betrayed the only real family I ever had. But I wanted you to know that I finally understand what I lost. Take care of the house. Make it what Mom wanted. A place where family isn't defined by blood but by choice, by love, by showing up when it matters. Tell Emily I'm sorry I scared her. Tell her I remember teaching her to ride a bike when she was 6, how proud she was when she made it to the end of the street. Tell Jimmy I'm sorry I never got to know him. Mom talked about him in her clear moments, said he was the son she never got to celebrate. Tell Sarah, welcome to the family. I was too stupid to appreciate. And tell yourself, Marcus, that you were always the better brother, always the real son, always the one who understood what Mom meant when she said family is a choice we make every day. I won't write again. This is goodbye. The Kevin you knew died in that airport. What's left is just someone trying to understand how he became a monster. Maybe understanding is its own punishment. Kevin, the room was silent for a long moment. Then Jimmy spoke, his voice thoughtful, the slight accent he still carried after 46 years in America, more pronounced when he was emotional. Do we write back? Maybe someday, I said, folding the letter carefully. Not today. Today is about the family we are, not the one we lost. The doorbell rang, and suddenly the house exploded with life. Ray and Patricia arrived with enough food for an army. 2 turkeys because Patricia insisted one was never enough. 6 pies because everyone needed choices. Enough side dishes to feed most of Marin County. Michael brought wine from his father's collection, bottles his dad had been saving for special occasions that never came, and his new girlfriend Beth, a social worker who specialized in elder care and had eyes that saw everything but judged nothing. Eleanor's husband Tom came with their kids, teenagers who immediately took charge of the younger children like seasoned camp counselors. Even some of Kevin's victims had become friends. The Johnsons from Oakland who'd lost their retirement, the Nevuans from San Jose who'd nearly lost their restaurant, the Williams family from Richmond who'd been 3 days from eviction when the FBI returned their money, all of them part of an extended family born from shared trauma and mutual healing. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Lily and the twins played with Sarah's son Jackson, their laughter filling spaces that had been silent too long, their games spilling from room to room like water finding its level. Patricia told embarrassing stories about Dad that had us crying with laughter. The time he tried to impress her by cooking and nearly burned down the kitchen. The time he showed up to a formal dinner in a tuxedo with tennis shoes because he forgot to change them. Ray regaled everyone with tales from his FBI days, carefully edited for the kids, though the adults could read between the lines about just how dangerous some of those operations had been. Michael and Emily compared military experiences, finding common ground in their service, both understanding what it meant to follow orders you didn't agree with and live with the consequences. A toast, Jimmy said, raising his glass as dinner wound down, the candlelight reflecting off the crystal Mom had inherited from her mother. To Dorothy Thompson, who saw the family we could be long before we did, who loved us all before we knew each other existed. To Dorothy, we all echoed, even the kids raising their juice glasses solemnly. After dinner, after the board meeting where we approved taking on 3 new cases pro bono, including a grandmother in Fresno who'd lost everything to a romance scam after the kids had fallen asleep in various corners of the house like puppies in a pile, after the adults had moved to the kitchen for coffee and quieter conversation, I found myself alone in Mom's study with Emily. You okay, Dad? Just thinking about Mom. She would have loved this. All these people in her house. All this noise and chaos and life. She did love this, Emily corrected, wise beyond her 25 years. She planned this. Every bit of it. Getting Jimmy to find you. Making sure Sarah came forward. Even Kevin going to prison. She knew it all had to happen for this to exist. She was playing 3-dimensional chess while the rest of us were playing checkers. You think she knew Kevin would kill her? Maybe not specifically. But she knew he was dangerous. That's why she worked with the FBI. That's why she made sure we'd all find each other after. She sacrificed herself to save the rest of us, to give us this chance at being a real family. The next morning, Christmas morning, I woke early and drove to Fairview Cemetery. The headstone was simple. Dorothy Thompson, 1946 to 2024. Beloved mother. But I knew better now. She was more than a mother. She was an architect of families, a builder of bridges between strangers who shared nothing but her love. I placed 4 roses at her grave. White for me, the biological son who'd nearly lost everything. Yellow for Jimmy, the chosen son who'd been hidden but never forgotten. Pink for Sarah, the surprise daughter who completed our father's story. And red for Emily, the granddaughter who'd inherited Dorothy's steel spine and strategic mind. Dorothy Thompson didn't leave behind 3 children or 4 heirs. She left behind an entire family that chose each other, and that was the only inheritance that truly mattered.